Ireland is the third largest island in Europe, after Great Britain and Iceland, sitting in the North Atlantic Ocean with a stunning 4,600 miles of coastline. Located to the west of Britain, this island is split into two parts: the Republic of Ireland, an independent nation, and Northern Ireland, which is still part of the United Kingdom. Together, the entire island covers about 84,000 square kilometers, around 32,000 square miles. The Republic of Ireland occupies the lion's share, over 70,000 square kilometers, while Northern Ireland makes up the rest. The island's total population is roughly 7 million people today, with over 5 million living in the Republic. But here's where the story gets bizarre. 2 centuries ago, Ireland actually had a larger population than it does today. That's right, this island is one of the very few places in the world where the population has significantly decreased over time. Why did that happen? What role did the people play in this strange reversal? And believe it or not, what role did the potato play in all of this? We'll unpack all of it in this video: how a humble vegetable became the heart of a nation, then nearly destroyed it, and how the same nation rebuilt itself from the ruins into one of the most developed countries in the modern world. Ireland's dramatic population decline is unlike anything else seen across the globe. And it all begins back in the 1570s, when Spanish traders first brought potatoes from South America to Europe. Then, in 1589, a British explorer named Sir Walter Raleigh introduced the crop to Irish soil. At the time, potatoes weren't native to Ireland, but over the next couple of centuries, the Irish people became deeply dependent on them. Potatoes were cheap, easy to grow, and full of calories. For poor Irish families struggling to survive, they became the ultimate staple, paired with milk and butter. Many families had little else, and over time, they began to treat this trio of food like sacred nourishment. But this dependency came at a cost. Their diets lacked diversity and left them vulnerable to disease and malnutrition. And because potatoes were so easy to grow, nearly 80% of Irish farmers were planting them, while about 90% of the island's entire population relied on agriculture to survive. By 1700, Ireland's population stood at 3 million. That rose to 5 million by 1800, and by 1845, it had reached a staggering 8.5 million. And then came the catastrophe. In 1845, a mysterious blight, likely a fungal disease that had already been attacking potatoes in America and mainland Europe, arrived in Ireland. That year, potato yields fell by 40%. By 1846, the crop had all but vanished. For most Irish families, there was no backup plan. They didn't grow wheat or rice. They had no alternative crops. Their entire survival system had been built on one vegetable, and it collapsed. Hunger swept across the land. Disease followed. Historians believe that the blight may have reached Ireland via ships coming from the United States, just a couple of years after it had first been identified in 1850 American potatoes, around 1843 to 44. And while France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and even parts of England were also affected, those countries had a more diverse agricultural base. Ireland didn't. The result? Between 1845 and 1855, in just 10 years, over 1 million people died from starvation and disease. And another 2 million fled the island, 90% of them heading to the United States. At the height of the famine exodus, Irish immigrants made up a staggering 80% of newcomers to America. By 1860, roughly 1 in 20 Americans, 6% of the population, was either Irish-born or had immediate Irish roots, forever changing the nation's cultural fabric. The famine technically ended after 7 years, but its effects were permanent. Even today, almost 200 years later, Ireland's population still hasn't recovered. Back in 1845, the island had 8.5 million people. Today, it's hovering around 7 million. Based on natural growth trends, experts say Ireland should have a population of 30 to 35 million by now. And even by 2050, that number still seems unlikely. And if you're wondering what the British government did to help during this crisis, well, the answer is shocking. They did almost nothing. Despite being part of the same United Kingdom at the time, Ireland received no major relief. In fact, the British government continued to collect full taxes from the starving population, even on the tiny bits of harvest that did survive. It was a double disaster: mass hunger on one hand and a brutal economic chokehold on the other. If we look into Ireland's history, we discover that this island was largely covered in ice around 16,000 BC. At that time, it was even connected to Britain via a frozen land bridge. As the ice slowly melted, the land became fertile and ready for agriculture. Archaeologists believe that humans may have lived here as far back as 33,000 years ago. By 2500 BC, the local population was already familiar with advanced technologies for that time, like metalwork and textile production. Over the centuries, waves of settlers and rulers came and went. Romans, Germanic tribes, Vikings, and even the Byzantines left their mark. Then in 1541, King Henry VIII declared himself the King of Ireland, establishing a royal title and effectively England's control over the island. That control became official in 1801 through the Act of Union, which merged Ireland into the newly created United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. But that union didn't last forever. In 1922, the island was divided into two parts. The south became the Republic of Ireland, which chose to leave the UK. The north, Northern Ireland, remained a part of the United Kingdom. However, even after the split, the British Crown tried to retain influence. The king still held the power to appoint a governor-general in Ireland. That finally ended with the Republic of Ireland Act in 1948, and full Irish independence was officially declared in 1949. That road to freedom, though, wasn't smooth. Between the breakup of the Union and full independence, the Republic of Ireland endured not just a global war, but a brutal civil war that crippled its economy. And ever since the island's partition in 1922, there have been many attempts to reunify it. The first major push came in the 1930s, led by the Republican Party, which had political representation on both sides of the border. Later, between 1960 and 1998, the violent conflict known as the Troubles unfolded. Though centered in Northern Ireland, its impact was felt deeply in the Republic of Ireland and even across England. Interestingly, both the Republic's constitution and the UK's Northern Ireland Act of 1998 allow for the possibility of reunification if the majority of people on both sides vote in favor. And after Brexit, those discussions have intensified. In the 2016 referendum, while England and Wales voted to leave the European Union, the majority of voters in Northern Ireland and Scotland wanted to stay. That created a new wave of momentum among Irish political parties pushing for a united Ireland. Some analysts now believe a referendum on reunification could happen before 2030. Now let's talk about something even more remarkable: how the Republic of Ireland went from being one of Europe's poorest nations to one of its richest. Like much of the world, Ireland was hit hard by the Great Depression of the 1930s. Most European economies fell into deep decline, but the Soviet Union remained relatively stable thanks to its nationalization policies. Inspired by that, the Irish government adopted similar socialist-style models. But instead of rescuing the economy, things got worse. From 1940 to 1950, Ireland's economic conditions deteriorated so badly that nearly 1 million people emigrated, most of them young, educated individuals who had lost hope in their homeland. By the mid-20th century, the Republic of Ireland was often labeled Europe's poorest country, but everything changed in the 1960s. That's when Prime Minister Sian Lemass, in consultation with top economic advisors, made bold and visionary decisions. The government scrapped its policy of nationalization. It established tax-free zones to attract foreign investment. Ireland's coastlines were opened up to global trade. Both local and international investors were offered massive incentives to put their money into the Irish economy. And it worked, spectacularly. Ireland quickly became a magnet for foreign capital. Labor was cheap but skilled, taxes were minimal, and law and order was rock solid. And to top it off, the government introduced free education to create a literate and skilled workforce. Then came another game changer. A new labor policy allowed companies to fire unproductive or unqualified workers easily. Businesses seized the opportunity to build lean, efficient teams. The combination of low taxes, educated workers, and pro-business laws turned Ireland into a haven for investors. In the past decade alone, Ireland's compound annual growth rate has been an impressive 7.8%, placing it among the fastest-growing economies in the world. Today, Ireland's GDP has crossed $600 billion, ranking it as the 25th largest economy globally. And when it comes to GDP per capita, Ireland is among the top 5 countries on Earth. Major tech giants have set up shop here. Apple alone has invested over $15 billion in Ireland in recent years. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they're all here. For multinational corporations, Ireland is now a dream destination. And you might be wondering, what do the Irish people eat today? After centuries of relying on just potatoes, milk, and butter, how has their food culture evolved? Well, things have changed dramatically. Today, 30% of Irish agriculture is done in greenhouses, 20% on farmhouses, and 50% the traditional way in open fields. The Irish now raise cattle, deer, and sheep on a large scale, not just for export, but as a key part of their own diets. Meat is a major staple now. The country has about 20,000 dairy farms, and nearly 65% of Irish land is used for agriculture. Some of the country's most important crops today include barley, wheat, potatoes, mushrooms, and even gourmet truffles. So yes, potatoes are still loved in Ireland, but the Irish people have transformed their relationship with food. They've embraced variety, innovation, and culinary modernization. Ireland's journey teaches us something powerful. You don't need massive oil reserves or a huge population to succeed. If you have good leadership, a clear development roadmap, and a will to rise, nothing can stop you. Let us know what you thought of this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments.